Good afternoon from Vietnam. Good morning to you, Dr. Lynda. Thanks a lot for spending your morning to join our show and share your wisdom to our audience around the world. And on behalf of the listeners, we would like to say thank you to you.
It is my absolute pleasure. Lovely to be here.
We still have yet met you in this country. So if you and your 13, other member of the family decide to travel to Vietnam, you let us know. Will be very exciting to see all of your beautiful family here for a cup of tea, coffee, and have, some fun together here. Okay.
Well, I've already brought my children to Vietnam. We cycled from Thailand through Cambodia into Vietnam, and we loved the whole experience. But now my children are parents themselves. I think I need to revisit with my grandchildren.
Yay! Yes, and we are here, so let us know in advance, and we will definitely, make ourselves available for your trip.
Yeah, be great fun. I'm very much I'm an adventure traveler, and it's my way of trying to understand why people do what they do in all cultures.
Mm.
So I have traveled extensively over the years, and I'm very much want to include my grandchildren in that, but they're very tiny at the moment. So it's early days. So with parent permission, as they get bigger, I will start to get further afield, just so that they understand how other children live on this planet.
Beautiful. And Vivian and I had the same dream. We had a lot of late night talks and say, okay, if my children gonna have their, family and have their grandchildren, what can we do as, like grandpa and grandma? And one of the things that we always want to do with them is to take those little, like little girl, little boys and show them the beauty of the world, traveling and teach them the culture, the people, having good conversations. And I think this is something that, would be beautiful if we could do it for our grandchildren. So,
I'm absolutely driven by them. Do you know, it was only about 18 months ago, I was looking at these four small people in my family,
mm,
and I just thought, what is the world going to be like when you're my age? And I really got upset. And I thought, right, what can you do, Linda? What can you do to help the world, if you like? And it sounds awfully grand, but that's how I was thinking. What can we do to help the next generation, the little people coming through? And that is what
uh,
has now driven my work completely since we last spoke. I'm very much focused on helping them understand and be resourceful on this planet, because that's what they need is resourcefulness. And helping them do that, of course, part of the traveling is understanding other people so that there's less conflict.
wow. Since young age, you always have a lot of questions about life, about other people, about the world, right? And this conversation is going to pick up on your wisdom, the journey that leading to what you do today. And you came to our country, our culture, the people here is very warm and it's very honored if we can have you to share a little bit of who you are and what you do in the general for our audience to know.
Yeah, I mean, I get terribly frustrated by governments, all governments, is that they don't seem to look abroad to other countries to see what's successful, what they're doing right. Because then surely a country, if another country is doing very well at something, that's a template to maybe consider for yourselves. That could be something to consider. Well, actually, if they're doing well at that, why are they doing well at that? Is that something that we could emulate? We could copy in some way? But somehow governments don't seem to think that way. It's always about their own agendas.
Mm. I mean that if you can have sharing to our audience, who you are, like the little introduction in the brief of who Dr. Lynda Shaw is and the work she does, for our audience to know about you. Would you do that honor for us?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I have hold a doctorate in cognitive neuroscience. I am a behaviorist. I am also a leadership psychologist, and I'm also an entrepreneur.
Mm.
So this is my fourth business. It's called Brain and Behavior. I had a break from business when I went back to academia, and I studied full time for 9 years to get basically my first degree was in psychology and social anthropology, again trying to understand why people do what they do. And then my master's was in psychology, and then my doctorate was looking at unconscious processing using fMRI scanning equipment and behavioural studies. My driver for learning about unconscious processing is I've been reading about consciousness since I was 14 years old. I love the subject. The topic is infuriatingly hard to understand, and nobody has any answers. I was only just last summer in 2024, I was in the Science of Consciousness conference in Barcelona in Spain, and there were 500 people in the audience, all at top of their tree. They were professors of quantum physics, biology, quantum biology, mathematics, psychology, parapsychology, neuroscience. They were, oh my gosh, everyone was represented in that room, and the debates and the conversations were fantastic, and it was all to find out what is consciousness, what it's like the last biological frontier in the known universe, and it's a complete conundrum. So my work is very much geared up to understanding that, but also to help business leaders to understand what goes on below conscious awareness, what is not seen, what is not heard, what is not said. Those the golden nuggets, that's the juice of communication. And communication goes right across the board. It creates wars, it fixes wars. Communication is everything. So if we can, in business, be able to communicate better with people by understanding what is going on below conscious awareness, and equally in extracting the unconscious ideas that people have. They don't even know they're having genius ideas, and it's those ideas that can actually make a massive difference to this planet. So we need to understand that, and if we can understand that, we of course will be having a much more profitable business, because the communication will be so strong, and everybody who's working there will feel valuable and valid. And so it all comes from understanding communication, particularly the communication that is below conscious awareness. That's me.
You introduced to us in less than 2 minutes with the topic of your love and your work for many years. That's not fair for us, Linda. All right, so we're gonna travel time together, and I share with you. We interview over 1,200 people around the world, 100 countries, 7 continents, right? And only 2 persons that had a dream at young age wanted to become a nun. You were one of the 2. and if I remember correctly, that was because you want to have sisters in your life, and being a nun is the way that for you to to have that community of sisters surrounding, right? And at 14 years old, like, you could be interested to so many different topics in the world, science, like whatever it was, I could be, right? Why the consciousness science?
Why? I think even at the young age of 14, that's so long ago now, and even today, and even more so today, I get very frustrated at the futility of the things we worry about.
Oh.
I get very frustrated at people arguing and unfriending people on social media because they happen to disagree with you. That is debate. That is where you get to learn things, when you debate stuff. You don't unfriend people. So people seem to be spending so much time, and always have done, wading through like black molasses or treacle or this dark sticky stuff. They're wading through shallow nonsense and not rising above that and thinking of the bigger pictures. If we don't entrench ourselves in this tiny craziness that we all occupy our minds with, we are awesome. We are an astonishing species, but we sabotage ourselves with nonsense. So consciousness is a topic that rises above everything. It's a topic that is, oh my gosh, it goes in so many different places. It's the big questions. It's the stuff where we are a human species and we're all thinking in the same way, not actually thinking differently and hurting one another. So it rises above human weakness. And we can enhance that and we can encapsulate that in our everyday lives. That's why I believe that's why I started thinking about it and reading about it when I was 14. I mean, as a child, my father, his company would on the Christmas time here in the UK, there would be a Christmas party for the people who have retired from the company. And the children were invited, and I was invited as a little girl, very small. And I would spend all my time talking to these old people because I just wanted to know stuff. Tell me what it was like when you were little. Tell me what it was like when you were a child. What was happening, and how did you feel, and what? So even when I was very, very small, I've wanted to know the bigger picture, not this nonsense. Sorry, you've got me on a very passionate topic. So.
Oh, me too. I love to hear, the wisdom from you. So absolutely keep sharing.
Yeah.
So that curiosity, if you trace back into your family, right, is that coming from your mom, your dad, or who's that? Where is that? See the idea, coming from?
I think my father was a man born before his time, and before time caught up with him. He was he was brought up to be very religious in the UK. He was a choir boy. He was a boy soprano. He sang solo at St Paul's Cathedral in London. He was had to go to church 3 times a day. And then he went to the Second World War. He was at the end of the Second World War when he was 18, and he denounced all religion because he just thought we were then cannon fodder. But he used to say there is only one true religion, and that's Buddhism, because people relinquished all their wealth and that. So my dad, and he always used to say things like everybody needs a quiet time during the day, because these days we say the word meditation. Dad didn't use those words, but so he was very much. Yeah, he did. He was very philosophical when he thought deeply. My mother was very naughty. she had such a naughty sense of humour. So my mum was great fun, but she was also extremely fair and extremely kind and very well balanced. So that was my upbringing, really. So my dad was very philosophical and extremely generous of spirit, and he would give you anything. Mum was a little bit more frugal. She was sensible, and but it's still generous and great fun to be with. So that was my upbringing.
So from 14 years old, having the desire of understanding more about the world, about the consciousness, right? And you enter into the world of work in different industry at all. Like I remember you become a cabin crew so that you can fulfill the desire of traveling, and life taking you to different paths. So since at what age did you go back onto the love that you've been exploring at 14?
The learning I experienced when I was 14?
Yeah, go back onto psychology, go back into deeper. What brought you to come back?
Okay. Well, I think I was I was not happy at school because I just didn't want to learn what everyone was doing, which is very naughty of me. But I was bored with the school, and the children were doing things I didn't particularly want to do. So I had one best friend at school, and we're still close to this day. We're very good friends to this day. And she has said to me, even recently, her name is Josephine. She has said to me, I call her Jo. She said, "Lynda, you were always odd at school." I went, "Thanks, thanks a bunch." I was all odd at school, but I think it's because I don't know. I seem to think differently from a lot of the kids. So what did I learn by that? I thought that I wasn't very intelligent because I didn't want to be at school particularly. Did go to stay to school, and of course you do. But I thought I wasn't very intelligent and I didn't really fit in. So the psychology of me growing up in my teenage years was not particularly happy.
Mm.
But it was only because I was trying to find myself. I
Ah.
didn't know who I was. And I think that goes for an awful lot of young teenagers. And of course, as now I know the neuroscience of puberty, my brain was pruning. It was very disconnected because of the hormone influence. So therefore, I now know, looking back in neuroscientifically, that probably how I was feeling was how an awful lot of teenagers was feeling, but I didn't know that because we didn't communicate as such. And it certainly wasn't discussed by teachers or parents or anything in those days. So, probably the psychology of that part of my life was one that's not dissimilar to many other children of that age group, but I didn't realize it. So that was quite
Mm.
isolating.
So you came back to school later in life to figure out the answer for yourself first, right?
I
So
did.
what brought you to go back in life out of the busy world that you've been already been having?
Um, what brought me back to academia was
Yeah.
that I had when my children were small, I went climbing in the Himalayas in
Oh.
Nepal, and I had what one could describe as an epiphany, a very amazing experience, because my father had died quite recently, and he always used to say, Linda, if you ever want to go anywhere spiritual, go to the Himalayas. And I had this opportunity after my dad died, and I jumped at the chance. So I went up there, and it was actually whilst I was up there, it was the anniversary of my father's birthday, and the monks opened one of the monasteries for me, a small one up in the hills, and they did a ceremony, and I was blown away, absolutely blown away. And when I came back to the UK, I didn't want to be here at all. I wanted to be back in the mountains, and I would stare at firelight. I would stare out of the window. I just didn't want to be here. And you have to remember at that time, I was an only child of a widowed mother, newly widowed mother. I was a wife and a mother of two children. So I was not of service to my family. In fact, I was a damn nuisance. So I was, after 3 months of not integrating properly, I realized I was hurting them. So
Mm.
I took myself off to night school, so I did an A level, which is what we do in the UK between 16 and 18 years old. I did an A level, and I thought, oh, I like this. I really
Oh.
like this. So that's when I decided to go to university. But I only wanted to study social anthropology because I wanted to understand different cultures and why people do what they do. But I had to go to university near my home because my children were small, and I had to do school runs and everything. So I chose a university that insisted I did a second topic, and that topic was psychology. So halfway through the course, anthropology was so hard because it's life, and I thought, I can't do this. It's really difficult. And then psychology I found easy. So I went on then and I studied psychology. I did master's psychology. My supervisor in my master's was a chap who was extremely intelligent, very, very bright man. He was a neurophysicist of vision. And I looked up his biography at in the university website, and at the very bottom was the word consciousness of his talents. And I went, oh my God, that's so exciting. His name's Michael. And I went to Michael, I said, would you supervise a PhD in consciousness? And he said, yes. So there you go. So I kept going. So my love, I did a full circle. I swear to you now, I honestly believe if my dad hadn't died when he did, I would not have a doctorate in neuroscience.
Wow. I totally didn't have this, understanding of your stories until this conversation today, because this completely new from last time. So you were supervised by a teacher, and then on his biography it said consciousness, and that clicked back onto the 14 years old curiosity long ago, right? And our conversation is designed to help people to have that epiphany moment. Linda. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we want to help the people, because I think that the moment of, eureka moment can happen any moment in life if we keep, looking for the unseen, unheard, like you said earlier. So bring me to the moment that you get the temple in the Himalaya, right? And you say that is it totally, like wow you. What exactly that happened back then, Linda?
What, at which point? When I received when I awarded my
Let
doctorate, or
I move it, to the moment earlier, to the PhD, the moment that you went to the Himalaya and one of the, the monks, the temple opened and you joined one of the ceremonies there, and you say it totally changed you. So what happened back then?
back in that temple, because it
Mm.
was they opened it deliberately and kindly because it was my father's birthday. So it was just a ceremony for me, and it was clearly, it focused me very much on my father, but it also made me focus on something much, much bigger. And that was the feeling that I had. And that's why when I got back home, I just felt everything was just futile, which is wrong, because I had my mother, that's not futile, my husband, that wasn't futile, my children, that's not futile. But what I was doing on a daily basis felt futile. I even went to a dinner party, and halfway through the dinner, I stood up and walked out of the room. I was so rude. I would never do that normally. Never. That was just not like Lynda at all. So what it made me do was open up my mind to much bigger things. Even though I've always studied and read about consciousness, that moment just, it lifted me out of the, what I call the crud,
Mm.
out of the stickiness, which is something that talking to you now, I'm only really realizing how that came together, because this is still with me now. I rise above that. And
Mm.
that happened from the moment that ceremony, in that monastery was given to me. So, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Thank you. But thank you.
You see?
But yeah, that, and for me, the message is always, just stay very open-minded and extremely curious, because if you're not, you miss so many opportunities to learn, evolve, understand. So yeah, that's what came of it.
I think the seek of consciousness was hunger to, to grow inside of you from that day, and it leading you to the academia journey and the teacher that had the biography of consciousness in there. So everything was like a calling, and Linda is on the path of unveil the inside, the desire for her to, to really do the amazing work that she do, right? And um, that is something that we found, in interviewing so many experts around the world. We look at their journey, and it's the way for them to, respond to newness, to open to newness, and that's how we came up with the framework called newness, right? So if you look at your life, wanted to be the nun, like becoming, doing so many different things in the academia, we're now running your business for almost 20 years, right? And if you look at the beauty of newness has brought into your life, and give our, audience some words of advice, some encouragement for them to keep exploring, what is that something that, Linda, you could say to our audience?
I think one always needs to, human species, we we push boundaries. Out of all the other animals on this planet, it's the animal of the human that pushes boundaries, always seeking more, always searching more, always going beyond. That is why we're ahead of the tree, if you like, because we have kept that going, and we continue to do that. Our biology is that we will never not do that. We have to keep evolving. We have to keep searching. We have to keep, our young people have to keep pushing back traditions, pushing back old ways of thinking, pushing. They have to do that because that's what we're wired to do as a species. And that is where the real lessons are, and that is how we evolve. Now we can choose how we evolve by what we search for, and indeed some people might just rather watch a television and do nothing. In fact, let me tell you this, a little story here. Another time I was in the Himalayas, I was in Bhutan. I've been 4 times now trekking up in the Himalayas, hiking up there. I love it. And we were in Bhutan, and it was at the time when Bhutan opened their hospitality to more visitors than they used to have. And so therefore they were able to buy more goods from foreign lands. And our guide kept talking about the stupid box. He was really, really angry. His children were looking at the stupid box. And we were like thinking, well, what's the stupid box? He meant the television. So he was really angry. His children were watching the stupid box. They should be doing this, this, and this. But he's got a point. You know, we can learn. Of course we can. There are things on the television and on our computer screens that we can learn from. But there's plenty that stop us learning. And wasting our time. Okay, the message that's coming out of this is, please don't waste your time. It's precious. It's the most precious thing we have. Do not waste it. If you choose to watch a television, that's your choice. That's great. But don't do it all day. Search, look for learning, look for see what's going on. Look at what nature is teaching you. Learn and open your mind and be curious. Always be curious and appreciate all of the technologies we have, AI, everything. Appreciate it, use it as tools, but keep that humanness, keep that curiosity going all of the time.
Wow, that's wisdom right there, Dr. Shaw. Okay, and your work is to help people to get wiser through the works, through the thinking, right? So in your own word, how do you define what wisdom is?
What wisdom is?
Yes.
What is wisdom? Wisdom in my world, wisdom is when you listen. Wisdom is when you think openly and are happy to be proven wrong. Wisdom is when there is new evidence that's being presented to you and you change your mind. I believe that is wisdom, because if we hold on to our truth, it's called the illusion of truth. The illusion of truth is if we hear something often enough, we believe it to be true. That is not wisdom. That is just advertising. To remember your experiences, because we only have our personal perception as our own reality. That is the only reality, personal reality we have, is our perception. Our perception is based on our experiences so far and our learnings and knowledge so far, and we will evaluate the new experience based upon those experiences, and that is how we gain more truth. But we only evaluate that based on our experiences, which means that we can be biased, we can be wrong. So our wisdom is that we will listen to new stuff and evaluate it on our experiences so far, our perceptions so far. We look at new evidence and we weigh up and think, do you know what? They've got a point. I see what they're saying. And we change our mind. That, to me, is true wisdom.
See, that's newness right there that you mentioned. New idea, new perspective, new things to replace the old, to check on the old things, right? And listening, is a very basic thing that, you have, me have, or our children are having. But why is that so hard for us now? So many people are starting to learn how to properly listen again, Dr. Shaw.
I think a lot of people are afraid of being wrong,
Ah,
and they're afraid of change. So therefore, they don't want new ideas to change them. But here's the interesting thing for me. Interesting thing is that people say, "Oh, the brain doesn't like change. It doesn't do change." Well, here's the news: the brain is change.
mm,
Okay, we change all of the time. Our blood pressure changes all of the time. Whether we're thirsty, whether we're not thirsty, whether we're hungry, whether we're not hungry. We are completely in a state of change. We are laying down new neural pathways. The synapses are developing, and everything. The brain is changing. Neuroplasticity is making sure of that. We are change. I believe what we do not like is uncertainty. The brain, if there are gaps in information in our brain, we will make up that information. We will glean it, excuse me, we will glean it from any source of information that we can find. If you, I definitely here in the UK, when COVID first happened, and we weren't allowed out of our homes, we were looking at the news, we were on social media, we were on the telephone, we were on Facebook, we were on Zoom, we were on LinkedIn, and anything trying
mm,
to find out information. The brain needed to fill those gaps in information, because when those gaps are there, the brain gets very anxious. It's a very anxious time for the human brain, so it feeds anxiety. So when we were trying to listen and find out in this information to fill those gaps to help us feel better, we were listening to the wrong places. We were listening, getting that information from the wrong sources, because actually nobody knew the answers.
mm,
It was all new, right? Everything was new. So it was all brand new. So therefore that information that we were filling our brain with, because we were deciding, we were going, I've listened to 10 lots of information, but my experience is this. I'm going to take that one as my truth, and I'm going to hold on to it because that makes me feel better. So therefore we're holding on to that because we don't want to be uncertain again, because then we will feel anxious again, because that means there's more gaps in the information in the brain. So it's uncertainty that is the issue. The problem is our world is changing so much and so quickly, faster than history has ever shown before, that
mm.
we are living in a constant state of uncertainty. It is wise for us to actually realize that when the brain is uncertain, that's when it's open to innovation. That is when we come up with creative ideas. That is when we are working at our best. So actually, if we relax into the uncertainty and think to ourselves, right, okay, I have no idea what's going on, but what could this mean? What is it that, where could we go with this? What is it that could be really interesting? And that is when we get those genius ideas. That is when people who have no idea they could have a genius idea get one, because that is when the brain is working really, really well. So it is, people hold on to these old way of thinkings from fear of change, but they are change. And okay, so it's the fear of the uncertainty, it's fear of the gaps in our information. Please don't hold on to old ideas. Open your mind up
Mm.
and go with the way this planet is moving, the way societies are moving, because you can't resist it. Resisting it is a hiding to nowhere. You will destroy yourself.
Mm.
I
Wow.
don't suggest that you jump in and think, okay, that's all new and cause harm. No, think, open your mind up and see what other opportunities are going, see what other countries are doing, see that what other cultures are doing, see what is going on, and take that information on board and change your mind.
I know, Lynda, you open a reservoir of our interest is the to help people to improve their ability to think. And one of the way that we do that is to ask experts who join our program so that, our listener will be able to pick something through conversation like this to apply in their life, right? Instead of reinventing something new for themselves. So the question we want to ask you is, how have you been growing and expanding your ability to think?
Oh heavens, yeah, I can't stop.
How do you do that?
I drive my family crazy. I'll say, I've been thinking. They go, oh no. It's like, I had an idea. Oh no, here she goes again. I can't. I have a million ideas a day. I don't do any of them hard, probably about 0.001% of them, because I have so many ideas. This is why I mentor people, leadership people, talented leaders, because I can help them come up with these great ideas,
Hmm.
because that's what I do. I can't help myself. So, and of course, I back everything up with neuroscience and psychology. But so, yeah, I constantly grow. I constantly evolve. I'm going to live till I have to live till I'm 150 years old to actually stop these ideas. And yeah, I do all the time. I'm always thinking. I'm always plotting. I'm always coming up with new adventures and new ideas. Always.
What do you do to expand that capacity? Why so many people out there? It's hard for them to think up one good idea or two good ideas. You have like 1,000 ideas a day. So teach us the practice that you've been using for yourself so that you can have that creative ideas inside of you, inside of your way of thinking every day.
I can only say I have this incredible curiosity. It's insatiable.
Mm.
When I was writing my thesis for my doctorate, it was 80,000 words long, and when I was doing my research to collect the data for that, honestly, I went down so many rabbit holes that were worthless because I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. I didn't know that. Off I went there, and I went, oh, brick wall, back, change. Okay, right, okay, concentrate, Linda. Like, do this research. Oh, hang on a minute. How about if I do this? This is push, and I, it's like, oh gums. I would write. I would write 20,000 words and have to erase them because they were no good. Because that is the nature of Linda. I am
Mm.
so curious about what is going on, and children are born curious. Everybody is curious. I'm not different. Everybody's curious. We just allow the crud and the nonsense to bury it. Um, just don't get out of the treacle, get out of the mud, and stay curious. You will drive your family mad, but never mind. It's good for them. Stay
It's
curious.
good for them. I like
It's good for them.
it. Two last questions for this beautiful conversation. Okay, and I want you and I to be curious in the next question because we're gonna travel together, travel time together, and we're gonna travel time with someone together. I want you to bring your grandchildren because you say that you want to bring travel with your grandchildren when they're growing up and to tell them about the world, to show them about the world, right? Now bring them with us and bring them to that monastery in the Himalaya, the temple. Bring them to the specific day that they did the ceremony for your father's birthday back then. So you now, them now, me, and you're gonna get into that temple. We're gonna meet you back then, that young you, and you talk to that young you about the future, about life wisdom, about anything that you are going to talk to that young Linda back then. So what is that that you're gonna tell that young Linda what the kids me around?
Oh, crumbs, you asked some really good questions. I would be saying to them, lighten up and have some fun. Because this world can make you extremely serious. And of course, some things are extremely serious, but some things are not. So when you have a window between being very serious, things happen, bereavement, illness, very serious things happen. Between those times, lighten up and have fun, because when you put the brain in a pleasurable state, we're the most efficient and effective we can be. And the best way of putting the brain in a pleasurable state is with kindness, generosity, and altruism. So have fun, enjoy other people, be kind to them, and everything will work out.
Beautiful. Last question. Okay. Let's travel to the future.
Okay.
Let's, what is the theme for 2026, the one thing that Dr. Lynda Shaw is focusing on improving, expanding, growing. What is that you want to share with us so that we can learn from you and from your wisdom, from your plan, and celebrate with you also?
What, from 2026 or
Yeah,
way
this
in the
year.
this year?
Anything now to the future, and one thing that you want to share with us? Yes.
Okay. What I want to share, what I'm working on this year
Mm.
is I have I when I received my doctorate, which was 18 years ago, but I first got um, the idea for my doctorate well over 20 years ago, and I wanted to be a very tiny thread between science and spirituality. I haven't talked about that until the last few months because I thought the world wasn't ready to hear of it. Business people weren't ready to hear about it. I have discovered that they are ready to hear about it. So the big business leaders, the small business leaders, they are all ready to hear about the bigger stuff, the consciousness stuff. So my work is very much going back to where I was all of those years ago. And so my focus this year is this. We have the power to be so much greater than we are if we understand what goes on below conscious awareness, and if we understand how to communicate that. And that is my work this year. We to stay curious, stay open-minded, but communication is key. And one of the greatest ways of communicating well with our people, with our family, with the people who work for us, is to make each person that we meet feel significant. When we help people feel valuable and valid and significant, they will rise to be astonishingly great people. And that goes for the 2-year-old who is being a real nuisance, going, mummy, 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 daddy, daddy, daddy. And you're saying, just a minute, I just need to finish this email. I'm just printing this out. Just a minute. It's really, daddy, mummy, mummy. And they will not stop. You bend down and talk to them. You make them feel significant. What is it that very elderly people say? Definitely in England, I don't know about Vietnam, but in England, they definitely say, I feel invisible. And that is terrible. That is wrong. Help people feel significant and they will reward you 100-fold, especially if they're working for you. And if they love you, they will reward you 100-fold. So this is my work. And that all comes from understanding the communications that are going on below conscious awareness. I'm right back to where I was started all those years ago. And that is what I'm working on in 2026.
Wow. Lynda, I appreciate you bring that topic up, and I wish that 2026 you will bring more of that works to create impacts to the leaders or the managers or organizations so that they can impact not only themselves, the people they lead, but they bring that home, right? And the butterfly effects that will create, a lot of impact around the world. Because imagine if we can make one person next to us feel significant, how that person gonna have the day and lead the day, right? And if so many people can do the same thing, how beautiful this beautiful world could become. So I really appreciate you spending your morning joining and sharing your wisdom into this conversation. We love you a lot here, and we look forward to meet you and your beautiful family in this country, Dr. Shaw. Okay.
Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I hope your listeners have as well. I really appreciated your questions. They were very different. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. Happy New Year to you and yours, and send our love and kiss to everyone there.
Okay, Happy New Year to you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.